What does your ideal client want from you? How to figure out your ideal client. Hello, I'm Lucy Griffiths, and I'm going to show you how to work out who your ideal client is and what they need from you in order to help you create content that actually sells to your audience. Because if you don't know who your ideal client is, it's really hard to talk to them on social media, on email, and of course on video. So the more work that you can do on this to figure out your ideal client, the better any piece of content you create will be. If you like this video, I would love you to subscribe. Please click on the link below. So, ideal clients. When I first started my business, I was told to kind of have this mythical image of an ideal client. And so I kind of went around thinking, oh, ideal client, and visualize this person. But it wasn't grounded in reality, and it wasn't rooted in any facts. And actually, it was completely off. And so, yes, I believe in creating an avatar. But I also want you to do some research to understand your ideal client, what they need and what they need from you, and the metrics from your social media, because this is really key. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually the avatar. And these are kind of the key questions, like what they do, where they hang out, where they go. And I have a list of these questions that we're going to dive into right now. One of the most important things with ideal clients is that it's actually your ideal client is the person who buys from you. So what I will go through in the subsequent questions and spreadsheet really matters because it helps you understand your audience and write for your audience, or who you think your audience is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, your audience is the people who buy from you. And so the people who watch your content and then ultimately end up buying from you. And so, understanding your insights from Facebook and Instagram really can help you so that you know what people are doing, what kind of content they want from you, and the kind of things that are actually generating a buzz and generating traction. And so you can do this by going to the Creator Studio from your Facebook business page and looking at your insights and understanding your audience. And the more you can understand your audience, the better. And so for me, for example, I can then get information about, the gender, the country, and all of those insights, because, that stuff really matters to know, build up a picture of my audience. I also can look on TubeBuddy, which is a plugin. I'll put it in the link below, for YouTube. And essentially, it can tell me quite a lot of data about my audience. And the interesting thing is that the stats of my audience profile, of actually who's buying my courses and my products, it tends to be an actually slightly older audience. So I started out marketing to 35 to 45-year-old women. That's who I thought I targeted. But actually, when I look on something like YouTube, actually my audience is 25 to 34, which I'd have never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would be cool enough to appeal to a younger audience, because I feel like I'm not very cool. And secondly, I never imagined that my audience would be roughly 50-50 male to female. And so you can always be surprised by your content. So be open to everyone. You never know where it will go. And actually, when I sort of shifted in my business and made a decision that I was not going to just target women, I was going to target everyone. Actually, I was like, I really thought, why on earth wasn't I doing this before? And I felt quite stupid about making this decision. And so very often I hear coaches encouraging people to build up this profile of this, ideal client who, holidays in Jamaica or the Bahamas and drives a certain car and looks a certain way and is so limiting and narrow focused. It's completely and utterly idiotic, and it is not who your ideal client is. Your ideal client is someone who buys from you, and that is it. Ultimately, someone who buys from you. So that said, there are some great questions that you can build up a profile of the person that you want to talk to and the person that you want to write for. Because if you know who you're going to write for in your marketing copy, that is much easier. But it doesn't mean to say that you are limited to that kind of person. And when you're first starting out, your ideal client and your audience will shift. As I just explained to you before, my audience has massively shifted for the better. And you will do the same. And don't beat yourself up. Just make a decision, go with it. Don't spend hours sort of having this conversation of who's my audience, because at the end of the day, your audience is whoever buys from you. And that shifts according to the clients and the popularity of a product. You will go with that particular thing. So we're now going to dive into the questions. So here we are with my ideal client questions that can give you a guide as some ideas of who you want to talk to. The first is the ability to find a customer and sell your product or service to that customer and satisfy the customer so that he comes to buy from you again and again. And Brian Tracy says this, and it's so important because the greater clarity that you have, the more focused and effective your marketing will be. So it's important to do this research, do this work, but don't get hung up on it. So these are useful questions to help you find your people, but recognize that your ideal client will change. So what does your product or service achieve from your customer's point of view? What are the specific benefits your customer is seeking in buying your product? What problem does he or she need to have solved? And the more you understand that, the better. How are you solving that problem better than the competition? So have that clarity, have that focus of what the problem is, what the pain point is, and how you're solving it. And be able to explain how you're solving it better than everyone else. What are your ideal customers' goals and values? And be able to tap into those, understand those. What are their needs? What are their pain points? And what do they want to achieve in the long term? What are their challenges, the things that you can help them with to overcome? What would be his or her objections to buying your product or service? And the more that you can understand those and actually be able to explain away those, the better. I now have a series of objection videos. So if somebody wants to work with me, they can click on those videos, watch those, and I've answered their objections. What's the location of your exact customer? So understanding your customer and where they live. What's his backstory? The more you know the backstory, the better. What does his or her typical day look like? How does she spend her time? And where are they, both online and offline? Where does your ideal customer get their information? From books, from magazines? Where is that? What does she care about? What inspires and informs him or her? What are their pain points? What are their passions? Because if you can tap into their passion, maybe it's about giving back to the community. Maybe it's about their children. Tap into those issues too. What's their age? Now, this point, as I explained before, it doesn't really matter. You can start out thinking you appeal to this age group, but actually, as I've discovered, I actually appeal to younger people and much older people. I have customers in their 70s, so be open to this. And the same with gender. Be open. You might have a particular idea of a gender, but it doesn't really matter.
And what's their marital status? Again, it doesn't really matter, but it's so you can have a conversation about whether, they're single and their pain points if they're dating, or whether actually they're feeling overwhelmed with family life and all of the, the challenges that come with trying to run a business and that. What's the person's level of education? Because, if it's school leavers or whether it is someone who's highly educated, you need to talk to them in a different way. And also whether this person lives in a rural area where communication is difficult or in the city. All of these conversations matter. Again, their religion, their ethnicity, it's not super important, but it helps you build up a relationship and be able to communicate to that person, so in a way that they will connect with you. And again, having children, if you're able to have conversations about children, it builds a deeper connection and relationship with someone. In the same way, if you met at in the pub or a networking meeting, and you could have small talk about kids, and it's one of those topics. Also, if your children live at home or they're away, those conversations really work. And if that person is the children's primary caregiver, they are going to be busy doing something else as well as trying to run a business or whatever it may be. So you need to tap into those conversations as well. And also if they're caring for aging parents, those conversations also can be really help draw that connection and build a relationship, because particularly in the online world, you need to tap into their pain points, their challenges in their life to build that connection and that relationship. And the same with their annual income. If you're able to tap into that, then it really helps you to, build those connections. And the type of work this person does. So the more that you can tap into what they're doing and actually be able to have a conversation with them through social media, the better. And also if this person is, self-employed or working for a company, they have different pain points. If you're working from home, you have different challenges to actually having a boss and a 9 to 5 and all of the other issues that go with that, of having to go to meetings and having to sort of climb the corporate ladder. It's a different conversation. And then also, the size of the company they work for. If they work for a small startup, it's a very different conversation to working for like a huge conglomerate where you may feel like you're just a cog in the wheel. And it's a different conversation. Also tapping into their passions, their hobbies. If you're able to show your hobbies, your passions, it might be you have a similarity. And so actually, if you love, going hiking, or you love swimming, or whatever it may be, actually, if you do that thing and they love that thing, they're going to really connect with you on that level rather than just about the business opportunity. And then also vacations, which is such a good way to connect with people. And this is, I use my social media a lot when I'm on holiday, because actually, people love seeing other people on holiday, and they get a warm glow from it. So tap into those holidays and, and actually areas you love and things that you're also struggling with, of like, camping and the tent blew away or whatever it may be. They also pose challenges, but also fun engagement. And then the areas this person lives in, what kind of communities. And so if you're able to build a relationship based on similarity of community, that helps. Knowing where someone goes shopping for food and why can be a great thing to target. So, when I first started doing my Facebook ads, I used to target a big UK upmarket supermarket, shopping centre kind of thing, because then for my groceries, I could actually tap into, I knew that they were sort of fairly affluent in order to afford my services. So that was kind of a good benchmark. So it's thinking of things like that in order to tap into a certain audience. So whether it's clothing, shoes, food, all of those things can really help you. And then what are their favorite clothing brands? And being able to tap into that really works. And, I get people who women really like what I wear. And then I also get comments where, I get men saying I dress like an old woman. And that he's not my ideal client. But actually the people who like what I wear, then maybe we build a connection over that. And the same with cars. I really don't care about cars, but somebody else does. And, it might be that builds the relationship. And then also, things like charity events or going to church, building those connections. A lot of people have built businesses on the fact that they are a faith-related business, or the fact that they are a coach who is Christian, and people want someone who is Christian to understand their values and what they're about. So, your brand or product could change a person's life. And why could it change that person's life? Why would they not be able to live without it? From a tool, a piece of software, your iPhone, through to clothing, all of these things can make such a massive difference to somebody's life. Where does this person get information from? From newspapers, blogs, books, understanding your audience. Does this person watch television, and what are his favorite shows, or, so that you can build a connection based on those of, the latest thriller or the Downton Abbey movie or whatever it may be. And then also, who does this person admire most? And so, being able to talk about certain entrepreneurial superstars and build those connections where they say, oh, I love that person. That builds a relationship of someone you both mutually admire. What would people be surprised to find out about this person? Understanding them, getting under their skin so you know who they are. And then, most importantly, what are they staying up all night worrying about? Because actually, that's a pain point, and if you're tapping into it, it will help you. And then also understanding, whatever your business, if their relationship to their immediate family, and being able to tap into that. And then, of course, what is this person searching for? What relation are they searching for in relation to the stuff that you are offering? And this works really well on YouTube, because if they're searching for a topic and they find your video, then actually They've found some connection there. They've searched for something and they found you. And then what have they done already that hasn't worked? And then what are you doing differently and showing up differently that will make the difference, flip that switch and really overcome whatever it is that they're struggling with? And that really is, a key thing, because if you're able to kind of take that pain point and flip it, that will be the connection that makes it happen and builds that relationship.
The next thing that is absolutely key is actually the analytics of your website and also social media. So it's really important to understand Google Analytics, and I have a video that explains all about this. The key thing to understand with your audience is where they're coming from, where the traffic is coming from. I kind of had this mythical idea that people came from Facebook because I liked Facebook. But in reality, my audience has predominantly come from Pinterest and from Google. So I needed to attract those people. So rather than spending money on Facebook ads, I instead decided to divert money and put that into SEO and learning SEO, and also spending time, resources, and also hiring people to help me create Pinterest pins and scale on Pinterest. I now get over 1 million views per month on Pinterest, and I have a video all about that. So as you can see, I went from being someone who was like massively in love with Facebook to realizing actually I should be looking somewhere else. So don't always assume you know best. Look at the metrics of your websites, look at the metrics of your social media to understand where people are and where you want to focus your resources. Because As a small business owner, your time, your energy is money. And so you want to put your effort into the thing that is working for you. It's not just about people commenting, because that might be your friends or your family. It's actually about people who are spending money with you and where they came from. So always remember to ask the question, where did they come from? And the other key point to remember is that actually you might start out with like an ideal client that is a particular person, and this will pivot and evolve as your business evolves and as you have greater understanding of your ideal client. So don't be afraid to revisit this 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the line as your business changes. I hope you found this video useful. I share lots of tips and strategies to help you build and grow your online business. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye 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 for now.